My name is Luke. I'm with the Pennant, and I'm going to be previewing and reviewing Notre Dame through their first 2 weeks and a preview to their next week against NC State. Notre Dame played the first game of the season, week 0, against Navy. And on offense, Hartman, big transfer, lots of expectations, and so far through week 0, week 1, he has done exactly what you'd hope he'd do. 0 turnovers, played so well against Tennessee State. He didn't even have to play the second half. He has just played phenomenal so far. And this offense is a really different scheme than last year. Against Navy, 0 tight ends even got targeted. And in Tennessee State, they started to get targeted more. But that's just such a difference from last year where, Notre Dame's main receiver was a tight end. Like, by far, that was their main receiver. And then to go out there and destroy a team without even targeting one. That just shows how much of a different scheme they have under Jared Parker and how much of a balanced scheme. The wide receivers have all looked pretty solid. It doesn't seem like there's going to be 1 or 2 guys that are going to have like amazing seasons, like a bunch of stats like what people thought would happen and what happened in West Virginia with Jared Parker. It seems like a very balanced approach. If one receiver's not doing amazing, then another one will step up. Deion Colzie stepped up in week 0 and then wasn't really there for week 1. It's a very balanced attack, and guys like Jaden Thomas and Chris Tyree will always be, reliable. The one receiver that I feel like hasn't lived up to what I had hoped so far is number 5, Tobias Merriweather. He's one to watch against NC State. He's really a deep threat, so I'm hoping to see him on some deep routes. Tight ends have looked pretty solid. Mitchell Evans seems like the starter, but Holden Staes has been getting in there. Those seem like our main 2 guys, and I'm sure as the season goes on, there'll be more and more passing threats. And offensive line has played amazing. I don't think we've let up a sack yet, and Hartman said it himself. He said best O-line in the league. If your QB likes their O-line that much, that's just that's so good for the team and the team chemistry and value. In our running backs, we have like 4 guys that just can go out there and start for us, and I'd be happy with it. Estime's number 1, but Jeremiah Love, freshman, speedy. Jabron Payne has been playing, I think, the second most snaps. Jadarian Price as well. All 4 of those guys scored a touchdown against Tennessee State, along with 2 against Navy. They've all played great, and again, I don't think Estime, even though he's our starter and is a really amazing player, I don't think he's going to have as big counting stats because of how balanced an attack it is. It seems like a really unique attack on offense that could be very useful as time goes on. But going on to the defensive side of the ball, it's a little more scary. Even though our defense has let up 6 points in 2 weeks, they just haven't really looked amazing. Our defensive line, guys make plays, 1 or 2 plays a game, but there's also sometimes where they're just not doing their job, and we're getting run over when we really shouldn't be able to. Our defense is taking a bit too long to get used to the game. The first drives of both games against Navy and Tennessee State, it should not be that. Tennessee State and Navy moved it way too fast, and even though Notre Dame destroyed both them in those games, the defense didn't look amazing at all. I don't really think, and it really scares me against teams like USC. Our defensive line gets good pressure, but they can't keep the QB in the pocket. So against teams like Ohio State, that's a good thing because Ohio State doesn't really have a mobile QB. But against USC later in the season, that's very scary. When Caleb Williams, he did that against us last year. We need to keep the QB in the pocket while we're getting pressure. We're getting solid pressure though, but the defensive line really needs to step up when it comes to the run game. The linebackers, 3 main ones, Maris Leofau, J.D. Bertrand, and Jack Kaiser, they've all looked pretty solid so far, kind of done what I expected. They need to have big games against USC and NC State. They really need to, show up. They can't choke like they kind of did last year sometimes. Our secondary, our corners, they've been all right. I mean, Jaden Mickey has really impressed me so far. Benjamin Morrison, Cam Hart haven't really done much so far. Haven't had the opportunity to do much so far. So against NC State, I really hope to see Benjamin Morrison and Cam Hart, number 20 and number 5. Hope to see them go out there and just lock the NC State receivers down. I'm really hoping to see that against NC State. And their name safeties worry me the most. I'm always going to be watching the safeties. Number 0, Xavier Watts, seems like one of the two. Like he seems like he's got the position locked in, but the other safety position, it's like there's a mix. And right now it seems like DJ Brown's the starter, number 2. I don't really like him though. He's very unreliable. So I'm hoping to see number 11, Ramon Henderson. I like him a lot more. He got an interception against Tennessee State. I'm hoping to see him go in and prove himself as a starter. Thomas Harper is a guy that could do that as well. So safety battle kind of in week 2. Need to watch who's going to be on the field, who's going to start on the field against NC State. NC State looked very bad against Connecticut. Looked very bad, very promising. If you're a Notre Dame fan, I'm very confident. Keys to win against NC State. We cannot just get destroyed in the turnover battle. They cannot cause 2 more turnovers than us. We can't turn the ball over, and we should be able to just out-talent them. And we cannot let Brennan Armstrong go back to his Virginia form 2 years ago. He got his offense coordinator back from Virginia, and people expected them to be really good in the pass game. So they haven't looked that way so far, and we can't let that happen. I'm Luke Fulkerson, and thank you for listening.